What up, JP Nation? This your boy JP. Today we're going to do another reaction video of Making the Case by Clayton Crowley. Shout out to Clayton for these amazing Making the Case videos, man. I've been enjoying them, the Larry Bird, the Wilt Chamberlain. Today we're going to have a current player for Making the Case in terms of the GOAT, and people know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the king himself, LeBron James. Man, LeBron James, phenomenal career, playing 19 years in the NBA, still looking as good as ever, being a top 5 player in the NBA. Even though we're kind of seeing a little bit of a steady decline as he can't really take over games anymore. Like, only you can get spurts of, like, you know, maybe 1 or 2 quarters of LeBron. But, you know, if you look at his resume, it's just been phenomenal. A lot of hate towards LeBron because, you know, people didn't really see, like, another guy that could surpass Michael or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'll still say Michael Jordan's the GOAT, even though LeBron James, you know, is one of the top 3 players of all time. There was no argument at the end of the day about that one. So we're going to go into the breakdown of, you know, how people see LeBron as the greatest of all time, how he is like, you know, the young thinking generation of Michael Jordan, in terms of just being iconic and like a Bill Russell and social justice. But we're not going to go into much of that though, you know. So, but before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe down below to It's Just JP for more basketball content. Look, I'm doing this for y'all because y'all gave me 1,300 subscribers, and I thank each and every one of you tuning in. Thank y'all all so much. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year too as well. God bless y'all. I'm very thankful for 1,300 subscribers. We just keep rising up, keep rising up, keep rising up. So thank y'all all so much. This video is for y'all. And, you know, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm interested in seeing this Making the Case right here for LeBron James.
Basketball is special. The size of the court and the lack of pads or helmets give fans the most intimate experience of a team sport that exists. And because of the different styles that basketball allows for, players develop their own distinct identities and signature styles through their creativity, flair, and athleticism. And although no player succeeds alone, the scoring volume and two-way nature of the sport give individual stars a nearly unprecedented amount of control over the flow and outcome of a game. For this reason, players are constantly compared to their peers and to the legends of the past in order to answer the most hotly contested question in the sport. Who's the greatest to ever do it? For many, the question is redundant. They believe in only one right answer, their answer. Others might have their own personal stance, but acknowledge 1 or 2 alternatives. But I believe that there's much more nuance to the question of greatness and more answers to it than you might think. By my count, there are 8 players in NBA history that have a substantial claim as the GOAT. It's a subjective thing though. I can't give you a definitive answer. All I can do is make the argument. So today, I'll be making the case for LeBron James as the greatest basketball player of all time.
Before sorry for pausing the video. I mean, a guy coming out of high school with so much pressure, being called the chosen one on Sports Illustrated right out of high school. A lot of pressure, you know, coming in when you, in the NBA for LeBron. But man, the way he handled that has just been phenomenal. He's probably the 2nd greatest high school player of all time behind Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Just the way he impacted, you know, in high school, the way that he played and the way he's handling in the NBA, just to be that top 3 player of all time. Phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Let's go ahead and get into the video.
To begin making the case for LeBron James, no. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. LeBron James isn't built like that. There's no way that he is the GOAT. Get out of here. What are you talking about? The amazing video about LeBron being the GOAT. Out of here. No.
I love that.
And just like that, we've started the LeBron GOAT case off right. Somebody like me makes a video like this, to which a certain segment of the population reacts by getting so mad that they start to pop blood
Jordan
vessels.
fans.
really interesting reaction to me. I've made videos about why players like Larry Bird and Tim Duncan are the GOATs. And sure, I get some, this video is garbage because MJ is the GOAT comments, but it's mostly been people having a lovely chat about the merits and nuances.
But I think, like, with the people hating on LeBron James, I think it's just for fun. A lot of people just want to troll for fun because it's like, oh, we can hate this guy. So a lot of get so much hatred, you know, because social media is big now. Like, he gets so much hatred because of what he's done and everything. But I mean, you can't really hate on a great player like that. They always try to find something lacking and everything when it comes to being the GOAT and all. But you know, but most of all, people are just hating and just having fun with it. It's like, oh no, he's not the GOAT and all that, you know, like, come on now. While you see players like a Tim Duncan or a Larry Bird, you don't really see like a lot of like hate and all that because they were so skilled in their own, you know, in the era where social media wasn't big. Now with LeBron, you know, when he prime LeBron, social media was huge on Twitter, Facebook, and then you just see just a lot of just hate, just a hatred of this one guy, So, and then it doesn't help with guys like Skip Bayless just crapping all over LeBron anytime he does something. So,
of those players' careers. I don't expect that to be the case today. But why?
Woo!
That LeBron, more than any other player, gets Jordan truthers so defensive. If you are one of those volatile Jordan defenders and you're racing to the comments right now, I know that there's nothing I can do to stop you. But for the rest of you, please, just humor me.
What a
Even
block!
if you think Jordan's the GOAT. Hear what I have to say. We all still love basketball. We can all still be friends.
Yes.
When LeBron James was a freshman at St. Vincent St. Mary's High School in Akron, Ohio, he posted per-game averages of 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists.
Only a freshman.
The Irish went undefeated, 27-0, won the state championship, and James was named the state tournament MVP.
Freshman.
Just like that, the final year of anonymity for LeBron James was over. In the summer between his freshman and sophomore years, James's play on the AAU circuit caught the eyes of every scout he encountered.
Facts.
Word began to spread far and wide about the man-child from Akron, Ohio. In his sophomore season, he saw an increase in every box score figure. His team started playing home games at the University of Akron's arena in order to seat the thousands of spectators. His team lost one game all year and won the state championship again. He became the first sophomore ever named to USA Today's All-USA First Team. He had officially entered the territory of phenom.
He is a sophomore.
Infatuated with James for a number of reasons. He had every measurable you could want out of a 16-year-old. Tall, strong, good wingspan, off-the-charts athleticism. But he also had superb instincts, a natural enthusiasm for the game, an unselfish play style, preternatural passing abilities, and strong leadership qualities, which is why, in his junior year, Sports Illustrated put LeBron on its cover. Now, this cover didn't single-handedly trigger the outrageous expectations of LeBron James, but it certainly helped. The cover acknowledged James's unprecedented talent at such an early stage, while alluding to the expectations, hopes, and wonders that such an unbelievable talent would have to bear. Beginning his junior year, James and the Irish would play their home games almost exclusively at the University of Akron's arena. ESPN2 began broadcasting their matchups to the country, and Time Warner Cable started selling his games on pay-per-view for $7.95 a pop to the Akron populace. The hype was substantiated by more incredible play from James, who improved from year to year. As a junior, he was named to a second All-USA First Team and became the first junior to ever be named the Gatorade National Player of the Year. As a senior, he won a second National Player of the Year award and was named to an unheard-of third All-USA First Team. James's junior year remains the turning point of his celebrity. It was then that he went from highly touted young prospect to inheritor of the sport of basketball. And that's the thing.
He was just a god in high school.
Fetishize potential. The allure of the future is endless. If a player has potential, they can be anything. It hasn't happened yet, so it's still technically possible, no matter how outrageous the expectation may be. But then if they don't succeed, we label them as failures, busts. Couldn't do it, didn't pan out. Never mind the fact that we were the ones who set the expectations to begin with. Promise is a double-edged sword, and this was promise like no other. LeBron was the first real athletic prodigy of the internet era. It was the first time that the country could whip itself up into this kind of frenzy about the next big athlete in the uber-commercialized post-Jordan NBA. These days, young prospects in every sport get enough smoke blown up their asses to host a barbecue with top 100 recruiting lists and the videos with titles calling any prospect who hits back-to-back threes the next Steph Curry. It's too much to say that it started with LeBron, but he was undoubtedly the initial product of the hype machine we're familiar with today. He was so good at such a young age, and so many people saw him and talked about him and heard about him that the stakes were clear. LeBron James could not be a 6-time NBA All-Star. He couldn't win 1 or 2 MVPs. He couldn't be the next Tracy McGrady or the next Vince Carter. He had to be the face of the league and go down in history as one of, if not the, greatest basketball players of all time. In the Sports Illustrated article, the one that called him the chosen one, a label that he embraced by having it tattooed on his back, writer Grant Wall recognized the absurdity of asking if a 17-year-old who still couldn't buy cigarettes was really the heir to the next generation of basketball. But after seeing LeBron and talking to him, Wall concedes that it was indeed the right question. Was it ever?
And before we get into the NBA draft, just a little touch on it. You know, that's just it was so much hype back in the day. Like, everybody was talking about LeBron James, you know, as this next great player, like once in a generation type of player. You know, a guy, you know, was getting the hype like Kareem was in high school, Wilt Chamberlain, you know, back in his day in high school. It was just so much hype around this guy. And, you know, you still have your doubters saying like, well, I don't know if he's going to be, you know, as good as as people think he was in high school. You know, there was just so much hype, but the way that he handled it, like, he didn't handle it with a bad attitude. He was so mature, like, he sounded so professional, you know, in high school, you know, with his interviews and everything. Like, he was just like, you know, the hype machine was just so real. And like, you know, when you interview him, you're just like, boy, he says the right things, and his play, like, he feels the game. He had everything you need in the player and all that. And then everybody was knowing that he was going to be the first pick. That 03 draft, Carmelo, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, I mean, probably one of the best drafts of all time. One of the best drafts. I wouldn't put him past 96 or 84, but when you look at it, they're probably like number 3. Like, that draft was just unbelievable. That draft was unbelievable, though. I'm sorry, let me go ahead and get back into this one.
The 2004 NBA Draft, LeBron James was the first overall selection by his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers.
He messed up. 2004.
He was selected ahead of college standout Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, who had just led Marquette to the Final Four and was named an All-American, college basketball's Player of the Year, TJ Ford, and Carmelo Anthony, who had just led Syracuse to an NCAA championship. LeBron, out of high school, went ahead of all of them with the weight of a franchise,
hometown hero,
and perhaps a league on
hometown
his
hero,
18-year-old
a bad Cleveland team.
As the most anticipated basketball player since Lou Alcindor, LeBron James could not falter. What if he'd failed? What if the $100 million shoe deals and the celebrity and the fame had been too much too soon? And honestly, how wasn't it? How did LeBron not mess it all up? I don't know, but he didn't. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the incredible things that he's done since with his platform as the country's most famous athlete. He spurred and advocated social change, especially in the realm of civil rights, from Trayvon Martin's shooting to the Black Lives Matter movement. He has been an indispensable source of goodwill and good fortune for his community. Phenomenal. He's been the most important focal point in the era of player empowerment in the NBA. He didn't just defy the odds by not becoming a complete nutcase. He has leveraged his position, set an incredible example, and has been one of the best role models that any child or parent could ever ask for. He's still playing, which means that all of these accolades are subject to change and likely will. but the only assumptions I'll be making are that LeBron finished within at least the top 5 of MVP voting this year and made first team All-NBA, which means he has been named to 13 All-NBA first teams and 16 total All-NBA teams, both records demonstrating his unbelievably prolonged reign over the sport. He's won 4 MVPs in 5 years, a feat only matched by Bill Russell, and finished in the top 5 of MVP voting in all but 3 of his 17 seasons. He's been selected to 16 All-Star games, 6 All-Defensive teams, and stands at or near the top of multiple all-time statistical leaderboards that demonstrate his all-around proficiency from playoff points scored to career assists. He has achieved such a universal and unique statistical position for a number of reasons. Namely among them, LeBron James is the best basketball player of all time. When James Naismith nailed a peach basket to a wall in a gym in Massachusetts, there was no way he could have ever imagined the game as it is today. And there is no way, not in his wildest dreams, that he could have ever imagined an athlete like LeBron. The guy is 6'8", 260, built like Karl Malone, passes like Larry Bird, jumps like Michael, and surveys the court like Magic Johnson. He's not the strongest or fastest, but he's faster than the strongest and stronger than the fastest. He has a cocktail of cerebral perception and hand-eye coordination that has made him one of the premier passers in league history. He has a 7-foot wingspan, a lightning-quick first step, supernatural anticipation, and an IQ on both ends of the court that comes from the brain of basketball's Da Vinci. It would be enough if LeBron had just built a name and career for himself thanks to his prodigious natural talents. But he worked diligently, year in and year out, to improve himself as a basketball player.
Work on his body.
Criticism for not using his Herculean frame to lock down opponents. And so, he became a lethal defender and was twice the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. Opponents would exploit James's lack of post-game by assigning him smaller, quicker defenders. He spent the summer with Hakeem Olajuwon and became a back-down bully. To better space the floor and accommodate the modern style of basketball, he needed to improve his streaky jump shot. He became a master of efficiency, and at his best, was a 40% three-point shooter.
Still bad free throw shooter.
There is no aspect of basketball that LeBron James is not superb at. It's a silly hypothetical, but I think it serves my point to say that a team of 5 LeBrons would beat a team of 5 of anybody.
Ooh, look at that play.
He always had the whole package, but he never stopped adding to it. And he's been adding to it for an insanely long time. He's been probably the best basketball player in the world since 2008 or 2009. And if your life came down to one game, he's still one of the first calls you'd make at age 35 in year 17. He can do anything, does everything, and he's never had a truly significant injury. It wasn't until 2019 that he missed a substantial amount of time because of a groin injury. And aside from some issues with cramps and some occasional back trouble, LeBron has never been a liability in that department. He is the 4th highest scoring average in NBA history, and with the way basketball is played today, he can defend point guards and centers alike. Add all of that to a tireless work ethic, an unselfish...
And he could play in any era, too. I just want to get that out there. He could play in any era. Any era. Like, you know, if he played in the 90s, he got to develop his jump shot a lot quicker because they're going to be physical. He could play in any era, man. I'm tired of people saying, oh, he cannot handle the 80s. He can't handle the 90s. He could play in any era. Any era. If you put a LeBron James in any era, he would still be great. He would still be great.
Play style and a penchant for big moments, and you get the queen of the chessboard. When it comes to playing basketball, he is the best at it. Hold on. I think I hear something. It's the sound of Skip Bayless's acolytes losing their shit in my comment section. Best player ever. Big moments? No way. LeBron's terrible in the clutch. He hates taking the last shot. He doesn't have the killer instinct. He doesn't have what it takes to come through in crunch time. I don't know where this got started or how it's been able to persist, but that sentiment is just factually untrue. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence to support LeBron's clutch ability and killer instinct. There's statistics that show that James is clutch. Evidence, analytics, stuff made by people who know how to do math and use calculators and stuff. And if you don't believe them because they're nerds and because basketball isn't just about numbers, then just look at the dude's results. He's hit clutch shots in the regular season. For the jumper for the win.
Woo! That was a good shot. Let's see the Orlando shot, too.
clutch shots in the playoffs.
That's probably my favorite shot. Drives in. I remember that game. Butler.
3 seconds to go.
LeBron Toronto. Wow.
3 seconds left. Cleveland triggers in. James, 2 seconds. 1 second for the win.
Wow.
Don't tell me that he can't win games, or doesn't have a killer instinct, or isn't clutch, or any of that shit. He spent a lot of time playing in the biggest games too, in an absolutely loaded league. In the playoffs, he has faced Gilbert Arenas, Chauncey Billups, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwight Howard,
Steph. Derrick
Rose, Al Horford and Paul Millsap, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, Paul George, Victor Oladipo, Damian Lillard, and so on. And the players he's faced haven't just been eye-popping. He's lined up against some of the vaunted teams and franchises in NBA lore. He played the Spurs, the most successful post-Jordan franchise in basketball, 3 times in the finals. And then he faces the Warriors in 4 straight finals. Meanwhile, LeBron's teams always seem to be overachievers. In his first 7 seasons in Cleveland, his best teammate by a mile was Mo Williams.
Yes.
Yeah, one-time All-Star, Mo Williams. The Cavs front office can't be faulted for not trying to get LeBron help. But they certainly deserve some criticism for failing to actually get him help.
Facts.
Anderson Varejao, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Larry Hughes,
old Shaq.
Drew Gooden, Eric Snow, old Shaq, Ben Wallace's corpse. None of them were really bona fide quality contributors who, in the roles they were supposed to fill, could compete and win a championship against the Spurs or the Celtics. The Cavs' entire philosophy during his first stint in the land was, he's so damn good, we'll just bank on him putting up ungodly numbers and carrying us to a win every single night. Which he usually somehow did. And when he left, look at how the Cavs floundered. From a league-high 61 wins to 19, the second worst record in the league. Nothing exemplified the plight of LeBron more than Game 5 of the 2007
That was a great game by LeBron.
With the series tied at 2 games apiece,
Carried that team on his
LeBron and the
back.
Cavs were trying to pull off an upset against the former champion Detroit Pistons nucleus on their home court. With around 3 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter and the Cavs down 7, LeBron got fouled on a drive, and so began one of the most impressive stretches of basketball ever played in any series by any player. To say that James, at age 22, proceeded to take over the game feels like an undersell. He scored 29 of the Cavs' final 30 points, including 25 in a row. He was transcendent, finishing with 48 points after 2 overtimes and the game-winning layup. It was a performance for the ages, but it was also almost entirely necessary. When the Cavs played the Spurs in the finals that year, they lost because a 22-year-old LeBron couldn't beat the Pop, Parker, Manu, Duncan Spurs by himself. Shame on him. So is there any surprise that he wanted to go to a real team like Miami, where he didn't have to do everything? And make no mistake, it's not like he didn't still have his Atlas moments with the Heat. But then LeBron put on this face and picked the Celtics apart. He had 30 points in the first half. In classic LeBron fashion, he was everywhere doing everything. He sucked the oxygen out of the arena and never gave it back, coming through with an all-time performance in maybe the most important game of his career. 2013 Finals, Games 6 and 7, leading the 4th quarter charge in Game 6, hitting a crucial 3 with 20 seconds left to set up
People forgot about that. People forgot about that. He hit the 3.
37, 12, and 4, plus the series icing jumper in Game 7.
45 points, Game 7.
James pulls up.
Wow.
Puts it in. 4-point lead. 35.
None of that matters to you because of 3 things. The sources of so much of that doubt and criticism. The 2010 Eastern Conference semifinals, the decision, and the 2011 finals. All three events happened within the span of about 400 days.
Yep.
It started with the second round of the 2010 playoffs, Boston versus Cleveland.
Yep.
Despite having the best record in the league, the Cavs lost in 6 to the Pierce, KG, Ray Allen Celtics. LeBron's numbers look okay, but if you remember watching at the time, or you go back now and watch, you can tell that LeBron's just not there. He's checked out. No aggression, no urgency, stretches of total detachment. He was a no-show. And no one still knows definitively why, but salacious rumors persist that you can look up for yourself. Whatever the reason, the loss amped the noise around LeBron up to new levels. He can't do it. He doesn't have it. The basketball world prepared itself for one of the most consequential free agent decisions ever. What they got was the decision. A 1-hour nationally televised special. LeBron was going to announce his decision on live TV. How could this go wrong?
The answer to the question everybody wants to know. LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
The best basketball player in the world dumped his hometown team, the most tortured sports city in America, live on television to join a super team with Dwayne who was mindless, shallow, insulting, and egotistical in a profound.
But Cleveland deserved it, though, because that front office didn't give him no help. Plus, Dan Gilbert was so rude as an owner to LeBron and all that. There was just so much drama with that Cleveland front office and LeBron that, like, it just got, it was just too much. It was just too much, for it, And people have been saying LeBron went to Miami with the super team. He created this era of people not being loyal to the cities and everything. I'm just going to say that, there's a point, but it's also not a point because we saw a lot of super teams in the past. I'm not going to count the ones drafted like the Lakers in the 80s, when Magic got drafted, Byron Scott got drafted, James Worthy got drafted, you say Bob McAdoo went to the Lakers. Well, Bob McAdoo was on his last leg, but he was still like effective though. And then, the Phoenix Suns, Barkley got traded to the Phoenix Suns, with the KJ and Dan Marley. And Barkley went to, the Houston Rockets with Hakeem and Clyde. It was all for a trade and all that. There's been super teams in different ways and everything. We just haven't seen it like this. Like, somebody in the prime of their career go to a team to win. I didn't blame LeBron for going to Miami, though, just because, what else could he do in Cleveland? If they ain't going to give him no help, and then you want him to stay in Cleveland, that's just stupid of y'all just to think about it. That's just stupid.
Way. LeBron quickly went from one of the most popular and celebrated athletes in the country to its most hated. Cavs owner Dan Gilbert published an infamous letter tearing James apart. Fans burned his jersey in the streets. Conversations about how LeBron was wired and whether he could be the guy flooded the airwaves. But the funny thing was, I don't think anyone really faulted him for wanting out of Cleveland. It was clear that he didn't get the help that a superstar needed in order to
but they
capitalize
don't pay
on
attention to it.
The criticism was first and foremost with the execution, doing it in a self-aggrandizing.
Now, the way he handled it, I
special.
think it was wrong, but
criticism quickly
hey,
turned into
I didn't blame him.
nonsensical, inane cliches and false narratives.
Yep.
The same LeBron that was getting praised for his ability to cultivate camaraderie and success on abhorrent teams was now being criticized for not making his teammates fear him, whatever that means. Was the decision the dumbest thing LeBron could have done? Yes. Was it a knife in the back of the community that had supported him as he ascended from chosen one to superstar? Yes. Was most of this criticism of his mental makeup and desire to win baseless and spiteful? Also, yes. But it probably didn't feel that way for a lot of NBA fans at the time. They hated him. He had quit on and betrayed his team. So when the Heat lost the 2011 finals, the hate boners raged in full force.
Oh, yeah.
And the Heat
They enjoyed
didn't
it,
just
too.
lose because the Mavs were better. They lost because LeBron choked. His
He did
scoring
choke.
average plummeted to 17 points a game,
The
down
zone
from 26
defense.
during the
Zone
regular
defense
season.
of the Mavs.
And of those 17
Doug had
points a
an
game,
unbelievable
only
finals.
3 came during the fourth quarter, which is especially damning considering how tight
LeBron
the series
choked.
was. James turned himself into public enemy number one,
Yep.
promised a jewelry box's worth of rings, and when the world was watching, completely flopped.
Yep.
There are no excuses.
No
I
excuses.
can't tell you actually LeBron played really well or that his team let him down. He sucked. He let them down, and they lost. It's a fact. Should it define him forever?
No.
No. Because if we take a trip into yesteryear, we can look at a young point guard on the Los
Magic
Angeles
Johnson.
Lakers in the 1984 finals by the name of
Choked.
Irvin Magic Johnson.
Yep.
The series was the first championship meeting between Larry Bird and Magic since their record-breaking collegiate showdown. The two were now the faces of a surging NBA, revitalized thanks to their mastery and rivalry. What did Magic do? He choked. Pretty hard. In Game 2, he dribbled out the final 11 seconds in regulation of a tied game without putting up a shot. The Lakers lost in overtime. In Game 4, Magic had his pass picked off with 4 seconds left in regulation of a tied game. Then in overtime, missed both free throws with 35 seconds left, with the score tied again. The Lakers lost. In Game 7, Magic turned the ball over twice in the final 90 seconds of a tightly contested game. The Lakers lost. Basketball writers were ruthless and cutting. The fact was, he didn't have what it took to come through in the big moments, despite previous evidence to the contrary. And that's not how we remember Magic Johnson. We remember him as a player who came through in big games, had big performances, and who you wanted to have the ball when the game got close. Could it be because he led the Lakers to 3 championships after his '84 meltdown? So why is it that some people's opinions on LeBron James haven't changed in the last 9 years? How are 3 championships and 7 more consecutive finals not some sort of redemption? Because of this right here, the Magic Bullet, 3-6 in finals series. Not that he's won 3 championships, or that he's made 9 finals, or that he's spent almost the entire decade of the 2010s playing June basketball. It's that he's made it 9 times and lost 6 times. Would it be better if he were 3-0 or 3-3? It is not a meaningful or...
And this is an old video too as well, just to point that out. 4 championships, 6 losses. But to point off on the NBA Finals losses, Jordan went 6-0 in the finals and all that, but people don't talk about that he got swept by, the Celtics, in the first round. Nobody talks about that. They talk about, he made 6 NBA Finals and never went to a Game 7 and everything. Okay, great. But it's hard to make 10 NBA Finals. That's on like the 50, 60 Celtics-esque. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like Jerry West went to 9 NBA Finals. That's unbelievable for a player like LeBron to go to 10 NBA Finals. That is unheard of. That is unheard of since the 50s, 60s, early 70s. Unheard of. Unheard of. That's unbelievable. That is phenomenal to go to 10 NBA Finals. So, yeah, I don't care about the losses, but to get there, just phenomenal. But people don't want to look at that. They just want to look at, he lost 6 NBA Finals. Okay, make the NBA Finals. If you were one of those people that said, he lost 6 NBA Finals, how about you go play basketball and make the NBA Finals? Hell, you ain't going to get there by yourself.
or insightful conversation in any capacity to boil down a player's entire career, his contributions, strengths, weaknesses, and subtleties to just his record in the NBA Finals. How is it that making it to the finals and losing is worse than not making it at all?
Exactly.
The time to actually look at how he ended up in those series and what he actually did in them, I have no idea how you could misconstrue his finals performances as a hindrance to his case. We talked about 07, 11, 12, and 13. Of those four, the first was a loss to a team with an actual roster and head coach.
Yep.
The second was a loss that can be pinned entirely on James.
Yep.
And the last two were victories. In 2014, the Spurs played absolutely divine basketball. You cannot play the game better. LeBron and Chris Bosh were the only players on the roster who showed up. Nobody else, either because of age or mileage, could handle the physical toll of a fourth straight finals. LeBron led the Heat in every stat but blocks. He averaged 28, 7, and 4 while shooting 57, 51, 79 splits. As Mike Tyson said to Sports Illustrated, the Spurs won because they deserved to, not because of what LeBron didn't do. You're out of your mind if you think that the 2015 finals is a black mark on LeBron's legacy. The Cavs lost Kevin Love in the first round and Kyrie Irving in Game 1 of the finals against the Warriors.
But he still averaged a triple-double.
Was so supremely impressive that Cleveland actually had a prayer of winning the series, which garnered him finals MVP votes despite being on the losing team. His averages were unreal, and Andre Iguodala won the award specifically because he kept LeBron from doing more damage.
Don't make no sense.
After a super weird regular season, the Cavs flipped the switch and cruised to the finals against the new-look Warriors with Kevin Durant. LeBron became the first player to average a triple-double in the finals, but the Cavs lost in 5, keeping the Warriors from sweeping their way through the entire playoffs. In 2018, without Kyrie, LeBron had a run that was eerily similar to his 2007 streak. Game winners, crazy numbers, Game 7s, the whole thing. The culmination of the run happened in Game 1 of the finals, when LeBron scored an earth-shattering 51 points, giving the Cavs a chance to take a 1-0 lead in the series.
And J.R. Smith fucked it up.
And then this happened.
Rebound goes to the Cavs. J.R. Smith brings it back out. Throws to the Hill. Hill shot blocked.
For the past 13 years in a row, every team that LeBron James has played on has been in contention to win the championship regardless of the roster around him. We're not going to play the what-if game, but he's proven that he doesn't need the league's all-time leading scorer as a teammate or the Zen master as a coach. He also doesn't need time off between finals. It took him 8 straight finals before he finally wore down. Give him any coach, give him any teammates, and by the sheer brilliance of his play, your team is now a championship contender. And I don't have to make the argument that 3 rings is more than 5 or 6 or 11, because that's not how we evaluate these players. We don't just look at ring totals, otherwise Robert Horry would be on Mount Rushmore. Yes, it's all about winning, but it's really not. We try to synthesize things like play style, competition, success, achievements, accolades, and the like into a more cohesive and complete picture. Just asking, did they win, when trying to argue for the greatest basketball player of all time is the wrong question, because, it's a team sport. The better question to ask is which player gave their team the best chance to win? Who meant the most to their teams? And the answer to that question is LeBron James. Is there any better example of this than the 2016 finals? What other player in that situation would have been able to do what LeBron did? He didn't try to will his team to victory by just jacking up shots. He picked his spots perfectly, got his teammates involved, and inspired a belief that they could win despite the odds. Suspension. The series is the perfect testimony to the value of LeBron James. They were facing the 73-9 Warriors, the best record in NBA history, single-digit losses in an 82-game season.
Unbelievable.
Cap it off with a title, and they instantly have a claim as the best basketball team ever. And after the first 4 games of the series, they have a 3-1 lead. No team in that position has ever lost. That lead in that series has proven throughout history to be insurmountable. Game 5 in Oakland. Kyrie shoots 70% from the floor to rack up 41 points. LeBron matches him with 41 of his own, plus 16 rebounds and 7 assists. Tristan Thompson is the only other Cavalier in double digits. Game 6 in Cleveland. LeBron spearheads a blowout with another 41-point performance, with 8 rebounds and 11 assists to go along with it. The momentum of the series has palpably shifted. Game 7 had legacy bursting at its seams. Something historic was going to happen, no matter how the game ended. Either the Warriors were about to cap off the most successful basketball season ever, or the Cavs were going to do the unthinkable. A 3-1 comeback, their first franchise title, Cleveland's first championship in 52 years, all made possible by LeBron James. A Cleveland win in Game 7 represented the single most significant feat that any player has ever achieved. The most anticipated high school basketball player in a lifetime, who became the chosen one 45 minutes away from the team that would draft him, who took that team to brand new heights, who broke that city's heart in an astonishing way, came back to try to make things right, and was now 1 game away from fulfilling his promise in an unprecedented comeback against a record-breaking opponent. He isn't Michael Jordan. Don't expect him to be. He's not Magic Johnson either. He's not Larry Bird or Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain. He's LeBron James, the most valuable basketball player ever. The most complete basketball player who's ever lived. The greatest basketball player of all time.
Man, I'll tell you what, man. That right there, you know, that was just, you know, beautiful. That was just beautiful. Just the way they, you know, broke it down and everything. Like, it was just, I mean, LeBron was just, he's an unbelievable player. Top 3 all time and everything. I just love the breakdown, and you know, I don't have to get much into it and everything. Yes, he lacks a killer instinct, but you don't have to be the GOAT to have killer instinct and everything. But you know, like, but I still say Michael's the GOAT, though. Michael is the greatest of all time, in my opinion. But, you know, comment down below if you think LeBron James is the greatest of all time. Why you say he's the greatest of all time. Why he's not the greatest of all time. How could he be the greatest of all time? Just comment down below. Subscribe to more basketball content on my channel. It's just JP. Click the notification bell. You will know when my next upload is. Got more reaction videos coming. And also, you know, follow me on my social media platforms below the video, too, as well. And I'm JP, man, and we out of here. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. Peace.